I was scared to leave. I was scared to death to leave. My children were 1 and 5. It was 3 weeks before their birthdays when they would turn 2 and 6. Their birthdays are 3 days apart, by the way. And I was scared to leave. I was in an unhealthy marriage. We were toxic together. But, I did not want to be a single parent. When my ex-husband and I started dating, one of the questions he asked me was, why don't you have any children? Like most women, around your age have children by now. I was in my late 20s. And I told him this, and I really hate this term to this day, but this is exactly what I told him. I said, I don't have any children because I don't want any baby daddies. I cannot stand that term, y'all. But for all intents and purposes of telling you the truth, I'm going to tell you that's exactly what I said. I said, I want to be married. And so we ended up getting married. And, I had 2 boys. And my marriage was not good. It hadn't been good since my oldest son was younger. And, the one thing I always feared was being a single parent. I never wanted to be a single parent. And so I was in my 30s before I ever had my kids. And so what happened was the marriage was getting worse and worse. And although we were going to counseling, after 4, I think we did 4 counselors, it's not going to work. If it's, you go to all those counselors and it still isn't working. We had a problem with communication. We're just very, very different. However, we're great co-parents together now. Regardless, it took me about a year to really gather up the strength. I was so broken. I was broken before I even got married. I was traumatized before I even got married and did not realize, right, that I was already dealing with childhood trauma as well as he was. And, we got married and had our kids, and I'm thinking everything's going to be great, and it was not. Okay. And my biggest fear, as I stated, was being a single parent. And as time went on, I knew for my children's sake, I had to do something different. And this was one of the hardest decisions that I had ever made at that point in my life, because the biggest fear was single parenting, because I had been raised by a single parent. And I saw how hard it was and how we as the children suffered, as a result of being raised by a single parent. So, I finally gathered up enough strength to find a place, to go looking for a place to live for me and my children. And I found a place. I applied for it, and I told the lady, now listen to this, y'all. At the time, I was only working, I was only making $15 an hour through a temp agency. I didn't even have a full-time permanent job. I was working full-time, but it wasn't permanent. But I knew I had to do something different because I had no peace. I cried every single day for a year. And I couldn't be good to my children in that state. And so I knew I had to do something different. So I found a place, I applied. And I told the lady, her name, I called her Miss Sue. And I told her when I applied for the townhouse, put in my application, I said, now listen, because on the applications it asks you if you're married, divorced, single, whatever. And I told her, I said, listen, I'm married, but I've got 2 kids and we need a place to stay. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't have a permanent job. I am working through a temp agency, but I need a place for me and my kids to stay. And so I just want to tell you that up front. So I called her Miss Sue. Miss Sue said, and she had a real strong Southern accent. She said, "Oh, okay. Well, I'll go ahead and submit it, and we'll be in touch with you in the next few days." And I said, "Okay." Well, guess what, y'all? She called the next day. And she says, "Miss Webb, this is Sue with ABC Company. And I just wanted to call and tell you that if you want the place, you and your boys, y'all can have it. If you really want the place, you can have it." And I was like, "For real? Okay. Now, mind you, y'all, this townhouse was really nice. Honest to God, I didn't make enough to afford it, but I cared more about my children's well-being than I cared even about myself or about my financial situation, which was at the time a hot mess, okay? So fast forward, I get in there and I had told Miss Sue, I said, "Miss Sue, I'm working through the temp agency, but my boss said that he's going to bring me on permanent. It's just that I have to work with through the temp agency for a specified amount of time before he can hire me on permanent." And so when Miss Sue called and told me I could have the place, I felt like, ooh, okay, God is up to something, So we moved in, and before I moved in, I told my ex-husband a couple weeks before that me and the kids were moving. I had not informed him that I was planning to move. And the reason I didn't do that and didn't tell him was not out of spite or to be mean, but it was because I knew that there would be no peace. And I needed peace. There would be no peace in between the time that I told him and the time I needed to move, or when I, had finally found a place. And y'all, this was a hard decision. You had to understand, I had a house that I had put my blood, sweat, and tears in. I had laid the floors, painted the walls inside and out, and picked out every single piece of furniture in my home. It was beautiful. I made it look and feel like I wanted my home to feel. I had personalized my home, so leaving it was a hard decision. Now, at the time, I was getting all kinds of advice. Don't you leave your house. You have the kids. He will have to pay you child support, and you will get to keep the house. Don't leave your house. But this is what I want y'all to understand, is that nothing is worth your peace of mind. Nothing can buy peace. You can't buy peace. And I had no peace in my home. And so I had to go find peace. So me and my kids moved. And by the end of the year, my boss came to me and he offered me a full-time permanent job. Now, let me tell y'all, this whole entire year, the struggle was real. I was robbing Peter to pay Paul, and then robbing Paul to pay Peter back. And it was just rough, okay? I was in the middle of a bankruptcy. It was a hot mess. I had, it was just a hot mess. And so he came and offered me full time. He said, "I'm gonna give you $3 raise." And I thought, yes, okay, this is it. It's about to be okay. Okay? This is enough for me to be able to pay. Now, I may not have a lot of money left over, but at least I'll be able to pay my bills and provide for my children. And, like I said, the struggle had been real between me having to pay for everything by myself now, getting my children to daycare, working, and my job was 45 minutes to an hour away, depending on the traffic. It was a hard time in my life. And so when he came and told me he was going to bring me on permanent, child, I was happy, okay? So the next 2 days, the day or the next day after that, my boss comes back to me and he is just looking solemn. I mean, just looking solemn now. And so he sits down, and I had an office. I was doing some drafting work, so I had my own office back then. So he sits down and he's looking at me. He's looking down. I'm like, he's like, Sherry, I gotta tell you something. I'm really sorry, but I have some bad news. And I'm like, what, John? What's wrong? Am I doing something wrong? Am I not? Am I doing a bad job? He says, no. You're doing a great job. Everything's fine as far as your performance. He said, but I gotta tell you that we gotta let you go. We're laying off. And I'm sorry. I know I told I was gonna bring you on permanent, but it's not my decision. And so I've gotta let you go. Y'all, this was 2 weeks before Christmas. 2 weeks before Christmas. I was devastated. I cried. Lord, I was like, Lord, I don't know how I'm going to make it with these 2 kids, no job. Okay, I got this place. I ain't even been in here a year. How am I going to make it? So my biggest fear, which was the struggle of single parenting that I had, the idea of single parenting that I had in my mind was beginning to unfold more and more and more. And I became depressed. I was so sad I didn't know how I was going to make it. So Christmas rolls around. I can't give my kids anything. But their dad, he kicked in. I was getting a little bit of child support at this time, but that was all I was getting. And so he kicked in. He got the kids some stuff, said it was from both of us, which was great because it was just a tough time. And I was unemployed, y'all, for 9 months. 9 months. I was getting unemployment. I think it was like $260 a week or something. It was crazy. And my rent at the time was close to $800, $750, something like that. And so 9 months I was on assistance, like food stamps, I was getting child support, so I was just getting the food stamps, and I was getting assistance with my child care, like before, after care, that type of thing for my children, and for daycare, because one was in school, one was still in daycare, and so I was getting assistance for those. And after 9 months, I was able to find employment, and I just started applying for anything. I was so scared. It was the scariest time in my life. I didn't know how I was going to make it. But guess what? But God always makes a way. In those times where I didn't eat, there were some nights I didn't eat, but I fed my children to make sure they did. And there were times where things got really rough, but God always sent help. Always. He always sent someone to help me. Even though I was completely fearful of the next day, of the next thing that could pop up, or the next problem, times when I couldn't pay my bills. And somehow a way was made. I would get assistance, it's just that a door was always, a way was always made for me to make it. So I finally got a job, and I started building now. When I tell you, I forgot to tell you guys, when I moved with absolutely nothing. I left my home and I left everything in it. And when I moved, all I took was my children's beds and their TV. They had twin beds, and I had an SUV at the time, so I could fit their beds in the back of my SUV and their TV. And so all I took was their beds, their clothes, my clothes, their TVs. Couple of plates, spoons, and forks. And I slept on their floor in their bedroom for 2 weeks because I did not have any furniture. I left it all behind. But I was able to, because at that time it was close to income tax time and I had some money, I was able to go on Craigslist, and I was able to buy everything new. Beds, furniture. The only thing that wasn't brand new was my dining room table, and I bought that from a lady who was moving to Texas, and she lived in this big old pretty house. So the table looked brand new, and I thought, this is God, everything's coming together. And boom, then the bottom fell out. I lost my job. Fast forward, I found another job 9 months after being unemployed. And I just started rebuilding. And I'm telling you, y'all, I never struggled so hard. Still, you know, I went to making even less. No, I take that back. I got another job, but it was hard work. I worked for DirecTV installing satellite. Every time I tell that, I have to laugh because people do not believe that I used to install satellite TV, digging holes and climbing on roofs. Yes, I did that because I needed a job. Okay, so when you think you don't have what it takes, because see, me, I didn't think I had what it took to be a single parent. I didn't think that I was equipped. I didn't think that I would be doing an efficient enough job because I did not have the greatest relationship with my own mother growing up, and so I thought that would affect my parenting because I thought, well, how can I give my children something that where I'm lacking, right? And so I started building, getting just moving on and pushing forward no matter what. And that job was hard. That's a man's job. Okay, seriously, it's a tough job, but I did it because I needed work. I needed to make money, and I was determined to win. I was determined to do what I had to do to make it with my kids. And so, fast forward, y'all, I was still feeling fearful. I was like, I don't know if I'm doing this right, and I just didn't know. And eventually, I had to move because that place became too expensive, and I had found another job and gotten fired. This was some years later. I had gotten fired, and so I had to move out of that place. And I moved, and I just kept going. But the whole time I was full of fear. I just didn't know if I could do it, not realizing I had already been doing it, right? So years later, y'all, I get to this point in my life where I say, enough is enough. Enough is enough, okay? I had struggled for so long that I just had enough. I had had enough of fear running my life. I had had enough of feeling like I wasn't enough or good enough. And throughout the years, after, my ex-husband and I, we did finally divorce after a couple of years, but I never got back into a real serious relationship because I just ain't that kind to have just anybody around my kids. Like, I don't play about my kids, right? And so I kept going and moving forward, and I was just determined. And, guess what, y'all? Today, after all those years of struggling, I made up my mind that I was going to do my own thing eventually. I was going to do my own thing. I was going to live, the kind of life that I wanted to live and show my kids that anything is possible. Anything is possible, and not to allow anything or anyone stop you, because there are people out there that are waiting for you to fail, and they don't believe in you, and they don't believe you can do it. But guess what, y'all? I have a child who is going to be a sophomore in college and one who's going to be a sophomore in high school. And I did it. Okay? I did it. And if I can do it, you can do it too. Everything starts with your mind. I made up my mind that I was going to make it. The point I want to make to you all today is you cannot allow fear, self-doubt, a lack of confidence, or even a lack of self-love, because I was dealing with that as well. You cannot allow childhood traumas, bad relationships to stop you from moving forward, okay? When I moved and I left that house and I moved into my townhouse, I had no idea that the environment that we have been surrounding our children in, subjecting them to, was affecting them until I moved. And I seen the smiles on their face when we moved, and I had nothing. My townhouse was empty except for their beds. It was empty. Those kids were so happy. They got their pillows. They was sliding up and down the stairs and everything. And so you can't remain, especially for you single parents out there. This is what I want you to understand. You can't remain in a situation that's toxic because you think that's what's best for the kids. Trust me, it is not. You have to believe enough in yourself. And even if you lack belief, because I did, move forward anyway. You have to step past your fears and believe in yourself. Today, y'all, I got too much furniture. I need a bigger home now, okay? So look at God, okay? So when I tell you that you cannot allow your fears or even your circumstances to stop you from progressing, from taking that step to change your life in whatever area you need to make that change, don't allow anything to stop you. See, fear almost stopped me because I was scared to leave. But I did it anyway. And that's what I want you to understand. That no matter what area in life you're struggling in, if you're a single parent and you're struggling to make it by yourself with them kids, if you've lost your job and you're wondering how in the world am I gonna make it? Because this past year with this pandemic, a lot of people lost their jobs. You wonder how you're gonna make it? You're gonna make it by believing in yourself. You can make it by changing your mindset. Okay? I promise you, anything is possible when you believe that it's possible for you. Okay? So, sometimes we take our fears from past trauma, past childhood trauma, and we project that into our future, and we move according to the fear that we have carried with us our entire lives. And it's just not true for you anymore. It's just that you may not understand or believe that that's not the truth about you. But I guarantee you that whatever circumstances you find yourself in that's a testing situation and it's testing everything in you, that test has come to show you who you really are. You see, I didn't know who I was. I didn't know who I was back then. I didn't know what I was made of. I didn't even believe in myself. So your tests come to show you who you are. A lot of times we want to blame someone and point the finger over here. If this person wouldn't have did this to me, or if this person wouldn't have said this to me, then I wouldn't have reacted in this way. But you hold your power. You hold your power. And a lot of times that kind of stuff is coming from past trauma. And so when the test comes, the test is coming to teach you. It's coming to teach you about who you really are. It's coming to show you your hurts and your pain, your trauma, and to heal you from that. But unless you're willing to face whatever fears or doubts you have, then you'll continue to go around the same mountain and you'll remain stuck. And trust me, y'all, there is nothing worth staying stuck. And there is nothing worth risking your peace of mind. Nothing compares to a peace of mind. You know, I'm peaceful. I'm happy. My kids are great. Okay? They were 1 and 5. And I was scared. I was scared to leave. But I did it. I did it. I cannot believe I got a child in college, but I do. I cannot believe I've got a child that's a sophomore in high school. But I do. And they was just little bitty babies when we started this journey. And guess what, y'all? I'm still doing it by myself. Successfully. I'm successfully doing it. And I'm happy. And I want you to be happy. So that is my message for you today. If you are struggling, or you find yourself kind of stuck in an area in life, and you would like some help with that, and I'll leave my information below. So if there's any area that you're struggling in, and you're ready to do something different, and you are ready to claim for yourself, as I did years ago, enough is enough. This is it. Enough is enough. And it's time to do something different. It's time to do something different, okay? And you can do it. You can do it. All right. Thank y'all for joining me today. I cannot wait until the next video. All right. Y'all be blessed. Have a good day. Bye-bye.